I am trying to recreate the first ever city I built in Minecraft Survival with my current building skills. Over 7 years ago, I uploaded the first video building the city of Papyrus in my original survival world. This evolved over a few years into a pretty large desert city that holds a special place in my heart. Fast forward to my current 9,700 day hardcore Minecraft world, I have already kicked this off with the project of New Papyrus. Today we are spending nearly 200 days in-game with the sole purpose of expanding this project, with multiple new city blocks added in as part of the heart of New Papyrus, and even transforming a huge extension of the desert along the coast. Click the like button if you're excited. Thank you so very much for taking the time to do it, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. One more round of sand digging to get this area ready to build, and this is looking about on par for our road to smoothly come up here, so we should be good to move forward. With no hill here anymore, I can continue my plan for the sprawling metropolis of a city, and I'm pretty sure this would fit well into a fWhip video bingo card, as yet again we are out in the mangrove swamp to fill up another shulker box of packed mud, as I will likely need a ton of it today. This time we are crafting the entire thing down into packed mud to use for our roads, and a lot of this will be used and turned into bricks later for all of our buildings. Then a trip further out into the desert so I can easily spot the green of an azalea tree, marking a lot of rooted dirt to gather up down into a lush cave that I want to use to texture our roads from being just the plain dirt, as I love the brown roads we already have. Some coarse dirt gathered up too, and we're off to build out this new roadway stretching around the 2 city blocks I plan to build up today in New Papyrus. One more quick job here before we can move into actually building. I want to add torches underneath to prevent the hordes of mobs from spawning that I know would come from all of the dark spaces. I think it's about time to get into the first build of the day. I'd like to build a big bazaar or marketplace. Since I had just picked up so much sandstone and sand, I first want to craft all of this stuff down to just have it on hand, as I know I have a huge surplus of it already. And then let's take a quick trip back east to my starter region, so I can jump into the lumber mill. Another note on the bingo sheet, as I need to grab a few different logs, slabs, trapdoors, and all of the good stuff, you know? I stopped by the market to grab some leaves, but found out that I was out of birch leaves, so I jumped out to a nearby forest and silk touched a few trees worth of leaves to gather up enough for today to get started. Back over in the city of Path, I'm down into the quarry, crafting down a load of tuff and diorite, as I love using those in New Papyrus. Anyone have a bingo yet? We're out in the farming region duplicating some ferns into double tall ferns to get a few more of those to work with for our gardens. A few more stops later, and I went into the villager trading hall to visit my stonemasons so I could buy more dripstone and glazed terracottas. On the way back to the desert, I did stop by the swamp for a few to pick up some of the lily pads there. Then unfortunately the stonemasons didn't sell any brown glazed terracotta, so I'm off into the mesa to mine up a few more stacks from the walls, where we can set up a few furnaces here to temporarily get into smelting and should be good to go. All of the glazed terracotta has finished up here, and I have been working while that was smelting, getting the outside frame laid out here with a lot of our dripstone, light gray terracotta, and a little packed mud to create a pathway going around the entire space. With the walkways floating above the ground, I need to connect it somehow, so I'm installing a small retaining wall along the middle, and for the bland corner, I decided to add in a fun new acacia tree design. I absolutely love how this tree turned out, and we're getting a decent amount of shade here over the crossroads, which is pretty fun. From here, let's grab some more of our tuff and our diorite right in here, as this space is supposed to be a little fancier and a grand market, so we're going to be working in some of our fancy floor design. Just takes a little while to actually get this thing going with so many different types of blocks, but I want like a crumbled section with our regular stuff, and then we have the actual fancy ones here being the polish. That should bring us far enough in, and then we'll do like a fountain here in the middle. But I was thinking along the edges we could work in, let's see, that can go in there, and then that way, that's kind of cool. Do some brown glazed terracotta that we had smelted up as just a fun mosaic design along the edge. I went a little crazy with our glazed terracotta. First, I extended the brown going pretty much all the way around and kind of messed it up in a few places to remove it, like a lot of people had walked over and kind of broken it down. And then here for where we are working on a central fountain of sorts, well, kind of more of a pool. And then I wanted to, just to make the edge of it a little bit thinner, we're gonna bring walls around this entire thing. Or, well, stairs to create a wall. And now it just needs to be flooded. I'm still very much laying in the foundations right now of this bazaar, and what we're gonna work on here is I want to extend us out just like 2 or 3 blocks coming in, maybe 3 on the corners with a lot of our packed mud and mud brick. And then we're gonna be bringing in a little bit of the chiseled tough brick in here and extending this guy coming down so that we can transition back into that kind of mosaic-y pattern for the middle actual like market area. You know what? It's snack time, and I'm happy to introduce today's sponsor, Go-Go Squeeze! I had the opportunity to jump on Minehut and check out their new fruit-themed lobby. Well, I enjoyed some Go-Go Squeeze. There are a ton of minigames to check out in the lobby itself that include a parkour course that I was extremely, and I mean extremely good at, and I'm sure no one can beat my best time. Right, I do have to jump. The spacebar is an important step to parkouring. Along with that, you can explore the server to find a bunch of green apples for a scavenger hunt. Pack some Go-Go Squeeze because you'll be here for a while. And even find a secret sign I left behind thanks to the Minehut admin team. There is also a PvP boop arena to stake your claim to the watermelon and see how long you can hold your ground. We have to watch the showdown of the mods. Get 'em! Get 'em! Oh, okay, no showdown of the mods then. And lastly, my personal favorite, a maze under the entire server spawn full of different challenges and giant fruit to distract you as you find your way out. Big thank you again to Go-Go Squeeze for sponsoring today's video and becoming a staple in my kitchen. Cheers. Our first platform is now finished all the way down, and now I need a second over here, which is now completed too. To make this space into something usable in the desert, we need to cover it in shade. So I next need to build up some pillars going around the platform that'll be able to hold up a large roof. These are looking pretty sturdy in here. Next, I want to come up here and take our cut sandstone and start to create a trim going around the entire space on both sides. That'll do it. And then we can grab our sandstone and throw that here on the middle. As you can see underneath, that has a little bit more crumbly texture that I think is just gonna look a lot better than the smooth one. I'm realizing now I could have done this all with slabs and saved half of the materials, but that's fine. We're almost done. No cutting corners. We're using full blocks. From here, we can grab our red sand to mimic like the fancy design that we have over there, and we can just take the red sand and bring it around a single block back from the cut sandstone. Then we just take our cut sandstone and repeat that trim going around the outside, and these are going to be very big, bold shapes, so we're going to have to figure out how to make them not look too out of place. Now I want to cover this entire thing with slabs to make it spawn proof on top, but inside is definitely going to be spawning some spiders with the 1 block gap, so a few torches in here. Now we just need to repeat this all again over on this side. Second one is done, and that is looking pretty intense. With the platforms almost done, I'm adding in jungle, oak, and birch slabs for some texturing and spawn proofing on top. To help balance out this large structure, I decided to add in some taller palm trees in the grass strip neighboring it. And yeah, I like this. I like it a lot. I've also finished up a central seating and the water feature in here with some cactus flowers on top that I just think are so very cool. We need to fill this place with market stalls to make it feel much more alive, but I'm not too sure on what to include in here yet. So let me know your ideas down in the comments below for what I should put in here and include a name. I'll try and pick as many of them from the comments as I can. I do have one detail left to include to add a little bit more shade across the middle here. Yep, this right here is looking pretty cool. I took the idea that we used over in the blue axolotl bazaar where we had prismarine kind of draping over as a canvas and instead did some warped wood this time. It's not quite as smooth, but I think it actually looks pretty good here. Just another way to keep us out of the sun a little bit longer while we're doing our daily shopping. Speaking of daily shopping, I would love to get working over here again. I need a lot of blocks to make that happen. Pretty much everything I just gathered, I need like 5 5 times the quantities for all of the houses today. So we're starting back over here for even more sandstone. Gonna need 4 more stacks of cut sandstone walls, some slabs, and slowly this whole box of sandstone is getting converted into other types of sandstone. Big one I'm gonna need a lot of is smooth sandstone, and I don't know how much I actually still have in here. Oh, actually, that's a lot. Okay, like a half stack into some slabs and then some stairs, and I think that'll do it. I got extras if I need it back in here. Dropping those boxes back off at the new city block, I'm excited to get to work here. But first, we need to jump back here to the east side of the world for even more blocks. First off, making a trip into the lumber mill, as for some reason, I always start here when gathering up stuff. This turned out to be a smart move, as I had prepared another 4 shulker boxes in total to bring back with me to new papyrus after I filled them with stuff. And I managed to almost fill all of them just here between all the logs, planks, and slabs that I need. Unfortunately, I am out of jungle planks again, so I jumped out to a nearby jungle biome and chopped down a few of the big old trees. I did also happen to find 2 parrots, so I gathered up some seeds and fed them to the burbs to make some new friends, who I promptly decided I would place on the new acacia tree I built earlier so they can squawk over the crossroad all day. Back in the city of Path again, I made a stop at dirt storage in the harbor for even more packed mud, and up to the foliage market so I could pick up a few new leaves, saplings, and flowers we can use to decorate around our desert city. For once, I don't need too many blocks out of the quarry storage room, but I did make a stop in for some endstone, some tuff, and more diorite to bring back over with me. To go along with that diorite, I stopped by my starter base to tap into the old shulker boxes of quartz that I crafted up building the ocean monument years ago, and then worked on crafting down a ton of different copper items and waxing all of them. One last stop in the city, I went to the Bamboo's bookstore to craft some scaffolding and found out the auto crafters broke, so I had to fWhipstone my way to fixing them. Crisis averted, I flew professionally down into the villager trading cave, traded iron for emeralds with all of the smiths, and went on to purchase a ton of campfires and bricks for more decorative pots. Lastly, before heading back out west, I flew to the birch forest and used my hoe to gather up a few more stacks of birch leaves as I was starting to run pretty low. Finally, hours later, we made it back out to the desert. Before dropping off my stuff, I ran around harvesting up some cactus and picking up the cactus flowers too. Just a simple, tiny build made up of nearly 20 shulker boxes being placed down ready to go for the next expansion to the city of New Papyrus. But first, we have something extremely important to do. I need to plant a field! Thankfully, when I built up this village here, I built some auto crop farms that should have a storage in the basement. And down here, we have plenty of carrots. This episode has been an absolute treat for me to record. It's been so fun coming back to see how my building brain works in a desert build style that I can reference back to where I started in my original survival world 5 years ago. Seeing the growth over that time is so fun. Thank you to everyone who's been along this journey with me, regardless of when you subscribe. Heck, maybe today is the day you subscribe, or this is my first video you've seen. I hope to look back in another 5 years and see how much I've grown again as a builder. So subscribe to be part of that journey, and thank you to those who have been with me for the long haul. I forgot how long it takes to build a field out here in the desert, but the new carrot field needs to grow up, but it's looking good. I definitely want a little farmhouse set behind that set of fields too. Oh, it could look so good, but that's for later, as I've got a city to build. Oh my gosh, there's a camel out here. I forgot they spawn in the desert now. Hey, buddy. The corner building is going to be a bit of a smaller shop front on the ground floor with some extra living space above it. I'm using some archways to create a covered area to get out of the sun, and using a few spruce details working up to the second floor to create some extra just details around our windows. Copper trapdoors left out to age in the sun, and hopefully they'll go soon, but I've also completed the inner wall that's going to be more for the shop front through here in a very, very tiny space, as you can see. And this little covered walkway leads back to a small hidden garden that'll be between all of the buildings, which we can now finish up this corner building by adding on a third floor with a smaller structure and some small balcony spaces. To finish off this street, I jumped right into building another sandstone structure using tuff for a trim, and then working in some oak for darker windows, going up to 4 stories with a covered balcony on the third floor. A few more details thrown in here, and we have a door to access this floor, then a small 4th floor to it. And up here, we've got a really lush garden top again with our little bushes and dried grass. And this is just so fun. I'm really loving the pale hanging moss to be able to add in with our hanging roots and the glowberries up here too. This seems like a great place to be able to just stare out at the ocean and see all the boats in the harbor. But also equally nice to have this street finished up and that view. I'm really waiting for that better extended entity rendering mod so we can see the big pots down there. But it's very cool with the tree arching over and we can kind of see all of the buildings coming together. It needs a little bit more detail like we got on this side, but it's a great start. I'd like to next work on a messy sandstone building that's gonna go right back in here along the edge of the park that we're gonna build out. Something that kind of stair steps its way up to the skyline with multiple balconies. And first, a little private courtyard that's gonna go right in here with a small gate as a way to lock it all in. So we can use some of our oak to make this entrance a little bit darker, and then use some acacia doors in here, making sure they both open in the middle, and top it with a few acacia trap doors. So it kind of looks like an orange garden gate. On top of this line here that extends all the way over, I'm just gonna throw a few of our smooth sandstone slabs, and that'll work as a pretty decent little retaining wall that doesn't match the exact theme that we're going with for the garden wall itself, but it's on par. Just need an actual house connected to this whole thing. We'll have a small entrance on the first floor into a lower portion of the house, and then a staircase leading up to the main living areas and yet another door. But first, a lower balcony above the first part with a small garden of carrots and potatoes on it. And finally wrapping up to the top balcony with another room and some good shade covering. Added some greenery here into the park as well, which we'll come back and finish it up and touch it up later, as I've got some fun ideas for like a big fountain here. But I'm really liking how we have that staircasey bit here that I was talking about, and a full decorated out little garden on the inside with some water in there for a small well. Currently there is no actual way to get up to the top floor, but we have another small water trough fountain type thing up here too. And we've got one building left to finish for this first half of our city block we're working on, and I want to change away from the sandstone and go back into our terracottas and packed mud. So I was thinking we could come along here and install a little back entry door right in there, and then we're just gonna extend this terracotta for a bottom strip that's gonna carry all the way out to probably like there for the front of it, so it lines up with that guy. And then above this, we're just gonna be moving into the packed mud as we move across. Now I've got a very fun idea in mind for what to do in this space. We just need to get there. So first we can finish our terracotta going all the way back, and from here we're gonna work into a front face, and instead of terracotta at the base, we'll just go with some jungle planks and kind of invert it here, as we're gonna be moving our terracotta in to be above that. Also a few windows in here using the mud brick stairs like we've been doing. Apparently even after doing it 20 times, I still place them in wrong almost every single time. That's fine, totally fine. And then back in here, we'll have a big door. Just using the jungle yet again. Now, I really like the arch idea that we did down on the first building here, so I figured we could do that again. And no, not glass. Glass will go in it, but first we need to bring in some walls along here. Stack them up to 3 tall. And then on the 4th block here, we're gonna go with walls again, but this time we're gonna be bringing glass panes in along it so that it stretches this wall out a block. And above that, we can then move into our full blocks with stairs to connect it all the way across. This right here creates a really fun archway that I really love. Now, in order for my idea on the back half of this one, we need to bring in some barrels because we need to hide this face of it, and then we're just gonna hide some spruce trapdoors like that. As next, I need my glazed terracottas, as I want to try making a pretty fun design in here with a light blue at the top, pink at the bottom, and then I want to figure out how to get this orange in here, and I think I want to have it like curving that way. So what would this be here? No, you'd go there. And then I think this one needs to be placed from that side. Yeah, we did it. And then to light it up a little bit, glow lichen. Nice. I've got a bit more of our second story figured out on this build now, and I was working on this archway where I really like this almost mural we have with the brown glazed terracotta and the jungle on the inside, but these entrances are a little boring currently, so I figured I'd show you how we all can make them more interesting. First off, you could just bring in some stuff like that, and that kind of elongates the arch. But for the more artsy style we're going for here, we could then bring this in, which helps connect it. But then if you do this, in my opinion, it's still just kind of loses its shape again. So instead, another brown block that we can work in is our spruce fence gates. And you can see how that then kind of forces this curve coming out. I think it's just a really clean way of doing something. We can come over to the backside and repeat that right in here, as it's a very, very simple one to throw in, and then we just throw the glass in here. And then I've also smoothed it out along the top too. And yeah, that right there, ignore the missing blocks, but that right there looks pretty good. Just gonna patch this in here real quick. We're gonna have a lot more of our packed mud stacking up, but I really love out here in the desert how it blends with the red sandstone being a color pop. So we're gonna bring this in as our little trim around the balcony. The like burnt orange reddy color it gives is just so cool with this. The building is now done. It includes one of those wind towers that I've been including on some of the upper floors of buildings, and a contrasting color right here of this canvas using cherry and our prismarine to cover and add some more shade in. But I'm really happy with how this one looks, especially with our big archway seeing all the way through, perfectly lined up if you're standing here in the bazaar to look through the library, which is fun. And it just adds another cool part of this city block. Before we continue looping around this block here, I actually had an idea for the building to link up on the bazaar's corner for this side and behind the trees. We're gonna go with that kind of grungy sandstone look and actually bring in some end stone. Definitely some birch, strip birch log, oak, and that. And then we need some of our sandstone-y bits as well, that we'll need a little of everything. I want this to look like an older, weathered building in the city, so we have the planks at the bottom going into the sandstone and shifting into our end stone with a lip of stairs at the top. And I really like the idea of the door actually being here on the market side, so we can start with bringing in a little bit of oak to go around it for the frame, bring in our dripstone right back in here to extend into the house, and then almost like they painted the door, I want to just bring in that extra color difference with our white. And for this, so that it's fully clear white there, we're gonna flip them going up. And then now for an extra step, for just a front little overhang here, we can bring in our spruce and spruce fence gates with our campfires. I always hate you can't distinguish them from underneath. Ugh. Got one. I'll just come up here. Now for a much smaller upper roof with a balcony and a slightly offset roof because, well, why not? Okay, this one here is really cute. It might be one of my favorites so far. I've also set up a little market down here that I need to get some more books to fill in all of the chiseled bookshelves, but I think it's a nice little touch. Oh, I've got a ton of bookshelves in here. We can just break a few of these down. And I can grab my fortune axe to mine them super fast. A little extra pot over on this side, and yeah, that's looking much better. Now to rival that building, we have the front coming up over the far side of the street with a new sandstone building. Up top now, I've thrown in some brick and granite for the floor. Just get a pop of that ready tone in here, and then we're going to be bringing in a few rooftop gardens, which I think are going to be super fun. Along with, I added this so we have a way to get up here. And then for some lighting, because we haven't really used any yet, we're actually going to have a full-grown glowberry right here. And then just shear those guys. I was thinking for these big pots that we have, though, it could be kind of fun to have some firefly bushes. They'll give some nighttime ambience. And then we'll just have some regular bushes. Who really knows what they're growing, but they got a little garden. And then over here, they've got just a little bit more green going on, which is fun. And I don't think this corner is going to end up as spawn proof. So let's just bring in some scaffolding and we can make some little tables and do like some candles. I've already thrown some water in this guy, so we can just have that to finish it off. And that links us over to this roof here, which I think is fun that you can kind of parkour. Well, I mean, literally walk between them, but like could be parkour. Maybe we'll be able to parkour across the entire city. Haven't planned it, but I think you could actually probably do it. Almost forgot the door, and I've only got one left, so we'll just throw a jungle one in here. You can make it all the way over here. Yeah, you can definitely parkour across this, but how do we get across this bit? Might be like an elytra parkour possibility, because you can definitely do that, but I don't think anybody can jump that. At least I can't, not at my parkour skills. Oh, but wait, you could get up here, parkour onto the tree, and then if we build a building here, and then you could use that to get over. Okay, we got plans. We got plans. Or Assassin's Creeding-ifying, if that's a verb now. That's definitely a verb. New papyrus. Jumping to the inside now, I want to change up how we've normally been using red sandstone for trims. And since resin is in the game, I thought it could be fun to add these in and for once use the chiseled resin brick. But this can be like a mosaic brick trim going around the structure, which stands out a lot right now. But if we stack our way up here to the top and then repeat it with another line going around, it actually starts to blend in pretty well, I think. That's looking pretty good. Similar to how we have this little gate over here, added one here, and I think it's all about how we structure in the resin. On its own, it's a lot, but when it's kind of a subtle additional detail, I think it works out pretty well with our acacia buttons also helping to tie that in. All right, I've got a little carried away on this one, and it's looking pretty good. The best way to make the resin work is, you know, just hide part of it. That's how it works even better. Yeah, just that's the little strip we can see down here now. But I added this little spruce extension like jutting out over there, almost to cast a little bit of a shadow along that. Inside here, we've got an oven that's looking pretty cool, and then more acacia buttons coming in. And then I've started just very loosely working on this next side right over here. That's going to be a bigger building in this point. And I don't think I can do it. Nope. No, that's not happening. Well, we'll start down here, as I want to grab a bit of my smooth quartz here. And then I would like to say we can work up from this point to up here to create some sort of an overhang that's just gonna be kind of like filling in the area. Just probably a little guy right in there. All right, I'm just putting the sandstone down. I'm ashamed at how many times I've tried that. But up here, I've got a few little flower pots around, and then I do love the flowering azaleas I've been bringing in, and then we need a way to hold this up a bit better, so we'll just throw those guys in here. Shear off the glowberries so they can't grow, and then right over here, we could just give ourselves a little light source. I don't want the full 15 light level off of the berries, so just a little candle action. And our top is rather simple with just some jungle and glow lichen on top too. Mob proof? Mob spawn? Not mob spawn. Make no mob spawn in here. Mob proof. It's late at night. I'm really good at words late at night. It's, yep, my specialty. I spent some time organizing my shulkers and managed to eliminate 5 boxes completely from this mess, which is really nice. We have 2 more buildings left to add in here for the city block, with a large one that's gonna come in down here on this corner. And I want to actually start down here, though, with another mud brick building. Getting all of my blocks together is getting easier and easier as there is less stuff to look through. For this one, I looked back at the first mud brick building that I built here in the city of New Papyrus and tried to draw some of those ideas back in here to the new one to help relate it throughout the other parts of our city. For here, you can see the first building that I was talking about, as we got kind of these big archways, the copper, the mud brick, a little bit of red sandstone, and another building on top. And then all the way over here, ooh, leggy, you can see how I've retrofitted a lot of those ideas in here for our little archways with the copper, the basalt, and the blue terracotta. We got our stairs for air to be able to flow through as small little windows, the red sandstone up there, and our little extra story for a building, which I think is super fun. Now we just have this behemoth of a structure left to go on the corner here. Grabbing a lot of my leftover blocks, I put in a tough and diorite floor, then built up a staircase that I'll be able to use to get to an upper level, before taking time to catch up the rest of the structure up to this level, curving around the corner. Along the back, where I already started off this earlier, I am building up a taller building with 4 very prominent corners and a birch dome roof. Right across from that, back to the front, we have a tall tower coming up for a very cool viewpoint. And lastly, some decorations thrown in for the balcony area to show people actually live here. I have been very busy. This is looking so fun. And I also added in the palm trees over here for the park, along with a lot of our wildflowers, and then the leaf litter here, just making it look a little bit dirtier, or as parts of the palms have fallen down here and are kind of getting caught around. I want to next focus on this section because I think it's going to be pretty cool to add a fountain in here, very much copying the design that is actually sitting right up there. But for this one, we're going to be bringing in a little bit of polished tuff along the back in order to create a mosaic centered around this. And then I do have micro blocks in through a data pack that I can get them at a stone cutter. So we're going to do that as a little like pillar and work our way around here with some stairs to create the rest of our pond. Can I please get a bucket of water from back here? So close. Fine. There we go. Much better. We need to get a little creative here with our mosaic, as I want to go with some raw gold in the middle, glow lichen right over here, and then I want yellow glazed terracotta, which actually needs to be on the other side, pointing up towards it. Nope, of course. Okay, there. No. Oh, we need a wrench or something in this game. There, now they're pointing towards the middle. Working a color gradient away, we could go into some orange, which is gonna be here and here. Nope, I need to flip those so that the orange is pointing in. And then here I wanna glow with some glazed terracotta that's gonna do the circle towards the middle. Looking pretty good. Kind of a bit of like eyeball going on, but that's okay. And then in here, we want that. And that, first try. Okay, that's looking pretty sweet here for a little mosaic. Now we just need some more love around this space. A little bit of seagrass growing inside to really show it's full of life, and I think that is gonna do it. I also threw some string down here so that this can't grow across. Now for one last detail I've planned already, inside of here I need to get the birch fences, azalea leaves, and our resin clumps, as I want to come back inside this little room that we have and build a kind of viney looking tree going up, where we can start with something like this and then just start adding a ton of our azalea leaves around it. And then along the bottom, we'll add in the resin clumps as if it's kind of producing some fruit. That is looking pretty good. And I realized back here, I don't really have a place for people to sit down. So I thought a nice little chair right over here and a little table could be cute. And then like another one, maybe we just do right here. That's okay if they're still walking across the grassy, mossy area down below. Maybe we give them a little bit of a shelf back here and we can give a few flower pots. Still got some flowering azaleas left over, and we've got some alliums that we can throw in. Let's fill this in a little bit more with some roses, which could be kind of fun. And then hanging up here, we can add our, nope. Need to be able to place blocks from underneath these ones. We can give them a few glowberries that are just kind of growing down here. And some glow lichen can be our lighting. Okay, I realized there's a fun little detail in here. Instead of the moss, if we add in a few pieces of grass, because it kind of gets that more browny, just bleh tone in the desert biome that, you know, so many of us love to hate, we can actually use that here to make it look like grass that people have been walking on, and that actually kind of fits the vibe. Right, we're moving on, doing something else. It just looks so good in there now, though. There we have it. The brand new city block here inside New Papyrus is looking fantastic. All of these buildings feel like they're truly belong here in the city, but they also still feel unique enough that it makes this a very fun place to be able to wander around. But I am not done yet. We're putting in the hours to transform this desert today. So I am gonna need these 6 empty shulker boxes and probably some more. As next up on the list, we're headed out of the city to transform this peninsula over here into some salt flats. Jumping into digging out this area, I totally thought this would be like a 1-hour dig. Nah, I spent over 4 hours digging sand just to get this area prepped and ready to go so that we can build this into some salt flats. We are making progress. It's not quite there yet, but it's going in the right direction. The direction I need to go, however, is east, as I have so many blocks to pick up. Now, we don't have salt as a block in Minecraft, just the tiers of players. So first off, we're gonna need 2 shulker boxes of that, and so much more of that. Okay, we gotta go find some calcite somewhere. Outside of that, I need so many bone blocks, and yeah, this is gonna be rough. We'll have to get that in a minute. Maybe? Okay, progress. Right. This is gonna be a grind. 3,000 bone blocks, and I've got 10. Refocusing on the road, I need a lot of red mushroom blocks, and thankfully we have a lot in here so that we can use not that for roads, but the inside texture being that. For another white block to symbolize the salt, I was thinking we could use some of our pale oak, and if we just bring a bunch of logs, we can turn them into planks when we get there to save on storage. I also want to bring a bunch of birch, and thankfully I have it. First up, we gotta strip all this down. Jumping out of casual, 3,500 blocks away, we're at a Stony Peaks biome that can provide us with all the calcite that I should need. one pickaxe from mining all of the calcite later up, and I got a lot extra. The 1,300 in there, 360, and then this one's got another 800. Oh, we got another. But I am way the heck down here near the output of my gold farm, and I gotta show you, there is some beautiful land over here. Just look at that there opening up behind me. Isn't that just such a very cool spot? And this plains biome continues just along this really flat area to these other really cool rocks over here. And then it's all surrounded by forests. Oh, it's so cool. If this wasn't 4,000 blocks away from my house, I would really consider building here. But currently the only build that exists even remotely nearby is this monstrosity of a yellow stained glass tower of my gold farm. Next up though, I need to refill my entire shulker box of bones. And oh god, I'm gonna need so many. I think this is my fastest way to do it. I think this is gonna suck. Well, time to kill some skeletons. I'm a little ashamed of this one. I spent 40 minutes here swiping my sword and didn't get enough bone blocks, so I just let the wolves here do the work while I tapped out to play Oblivion. No idea if this is enough, but that box is now refilled, and we've got a good amount of extra bones in here between these two, which is great. We'll bring as much as I can with me and leave that last little bit behind, as hopefully I don't have to come back, but I'm a little worried that I will need to. I'm really not a fan of AFKing in this world. I really try and put all of the hours into actual gameplay, but sometimes, man, you just need so many blocks, and that's the best way to do it. The worst part is, I don't know if this is everything I need, but we're gonna at least get started here and hope that we can take it a good way. The first step for the salt flats is going to be establishing the central road throughout this space so that I can more easily walk around, and this takes out all of the birch and red mushroom blocks that I brought along. I also went and added some birch around our perimeters of the different pools that we're going to be making in here for all of the salt. I think it looks pretty good. And then I also brought in a lot of this dry grass, the short and tall versions, and it's got me thinking. I really love it. And my idea that I had originally when creating this rocky formation here to be our coastline was taking a lot of this dry grass that I originally envisioned existing in Minecraft, and now it actually exists in Minecraft, and I want to just fill it in along here to make it feel a lot more almost lush-ish along the water. It also works as a great way to get some windy sounds coming in off of the ocean, as standing in the dry grass gets that new desert ambient wind rustling through it. It's very strong when you have a lot of the dry grass connected to sand, but it's all the way down here to the end of the village. And that right there looks really cool. Oh, I'm happy with it. And I was thinking, we got palm trees here. What if we had a few palm trees along the road? Let's do it. Along with the new palm trees, I want to also add in a few water tents for workers to rest at. Okay, fine. I won't put off building the salt flats any longer. For the salt flats, obviously we've got the sand around the perimeters already. And then on top of that, I want to use our bone and then also the top of the bone to make it look like a little deeper pool almost. And then we have our calcite, we've got pale oak planks, and we've got diorite. The pale oak planks are important because we can make it look like salt piles or something are built up on top of the sand by using these two to incorporate with that. Oh no, I guess I have to go sleep. I can't go actually start the salt flats yet. Oh no, I have to put it off further. Oh man, it's morning. Starting first by filling in the large pools of salt that would be filled with water. In the theoretical high tide that doesn't happen in Minecraft, I am trying to add controlled noise, with the bone blocks being the bridge between the wider blocks and our existing sand. Then using the pale buttons to blend those lines even further. I ran out of bone blocks. I did put everything else in place. I just need to add bone blocks throughout this entire side, stretching down there around the corner. So I think I'm gonna need probably another 600-700 bone blocks. But that would finish up the entirety of the salt flats. Let's pack up just the essentials for now, as I've got an idea that might help with getting bone blocks faster. Well, actually, scratch that. Another idea that'll help with getting it even faster. We can actually just go break bone blocks here in the nether. Kind of forgot about these. Not quite as safe, but this is definitely going a lot faster, and that's important. Thought 8 stacks would be enough, and it got me to here, and I ran out right there. Oh, we have to go get even more bone blocks. Oh, it's gonna look so good, though. It's really starting to come together. Just that chunk left to go. Back to idea number 1, involving this moss farm. I want to turn it on, and then we're gonna be digging down right about here to create a little ender pearl stasis chamber. Can't quite remember how deep they need to be, so we're just gonna hope that this is enough. Throw some water right there, go to the bottom, help all the way back to the top, and we've got bubbles going all the way. Perfect. And then if I throw an ender pearl in there, it is now floating, which means that is a full stasis chamber. And in the new Minecraft update, that keeps the chunks around it loaded. So this is going to finish filling up with a little bit of moss in here. We'll take the moss. I'm going to need it later. I will, however, use my first crafting table ever in this world and make a few chests. All right, I need more. Right next door to the iron farm, which unfortunately is starting to run low too. I think this thing is broken. Oh, well, maybe just a good excuse for a new project, but let's create a few hoppers. It works when I'm in the area, but I think it's outside spawn chunks now, so it just never runs otherwise. Right, let's over here, we can extend another 4 double chests for bone meal storage, and hopefully that just keeps stacking up. And even more so, hopefully it doesn't break when we leave. For a small test, I logged how much moss was in there already and went to the nether for about 10 minutes to hang out at the Wither Skelly farm. Flying in, there's no cobblestone at the top, which is a very good sign, as it hopefully means it hasn't broken and it's still running. And this chest was about half full. Oh, wow, that's completely full. And that one's pretty filled up here too. Nice. And it looks like some of the moss actually overflowed this way, so it's just now starting to produce some bone meal. And this system definitely preserves more bone meal to run itself than it should, so I'm just gonna take this out of here, and that's another stack for us. Yeah, see, that's totally full. It'll start working itself up soon, and out of the Wither Skelly farm, I've got all that now. I ran out again. I've got just 2 pools left to go, though. We've got just this guy over here and that one right over there. And thankfully, the moss farm should have been working the entire time. I know what's going on my project list, though, and that is a good way to get bone meal. All right, last time for sure. We're getting enough this time. I'm a little annoyed to say it's been an hour, but we're done. All of the bone blocks are now in place, and I think I'm going to be leaving that moss farm running for a few, as I need to restock on a few bone blocks. Next up, I want to fill up on a ton of sand and sandstone, as I've got a decent amount left in here. And by decent amount, I mean way too much. But along the edge of our salt flats, it's looking a little rough currently. So I'd like to come in and bring a little bit of our sand and place it on top of some sandstone and start smoothing out this transition down to the bottom of the ocean. I'm not going to take it all the way down today, but just far enough that the water will start to get a little bit of that darkness for the shadow effect. They'll kind of blend it a bit better. This is something that I could easily just skip over and move on to the next step of the project, but I'm honestly just kind of tired of these projects being unfinished around the world, so I figured I could just use the rest of my day, as it's already pretty late into it, to connect this extension down to the ocean floor. Made it all the way around, and we've got a few more blocks in here to place just to smooth this section out a bit more. And unfortunately, I will have to leave it unfinished, as I have no bone meal to actually cover it with seagrass. But if we take a flight back now, you can see that it's completed all the way around down to the bottom of the ocean, which is looking very good. I've never built something like this before, and I'm happy with how the salt flats have turned out, but I thought the road at the end should lead somewhere. And well, I don't want any ships running aground and ruining all the salt that we're collecting, so let's make a little island out here, maybe around this shipwreck, for a lighthouse to sit on top of. Just spent some time rummaging through my storage shulker monster that we have over here, and I got just about everything I need. We just need to make a trip out here into the mesa for some terracotta. And actually, I need this color. I want to use some light gray terracotta to do some landscaping with. Trying to dig really far into the terrain instead of ruining what's on the outside, because we might actually be building close to this eventually, so I don't want to destroy this mesa. Right, there's a little over 4 stacks, and that should be plenty. The other type I want is a little bit more plentiful, as I just need a ton of regular terracotta. And right back here should do. And there we go, 6 stacks of regular terracotta. That should hopefully get us through this all. Time to build a lighthouse. Well, actually time to build land for a lighthouse to sit on first out in the ocean. I've got a ton more blocks on me, and I decided to bring in a lot of our dry grass around. I think it just adds a cool little like fluffy element to this. But in the middle, we have the start of our lighthouse coming together, and I want to come down to create a small dock. We're going to be using basically just a wooden platform held up by some stilts here, so using a lot of slabs to fill it in. And I want to step it down so we're just a block above water level, kind of weirdly enough above the shipwreck, which I just thought was fun. And we can come out to like right here, throwing some more spruce fences in as supports, and that's looking pretty good. And then I was thinking right up in here, I want to just make a floor at this level using some planks. And our door can be pretty simple here with just a spruce guy in the middle, and we'll bring it up about this tall. And most of our build is going to be made out of sandstone, so we can frame the window around like that. Throw the rest of our first floor section on here as we're going to skinny up the tower, and I threw in a few windows around, a lot of our end stone brick, and a little bit of bone in here too, with a ton of walls to make it look really aged under all of the weather. Now, as we move up here, we're going to be bringing in a ton of our sandstone walls to help kind of partially skinny it up. And then along this layer here, I want to do every other block as the full red sandstone, just for that iconic trim that we've used so far. And then we just fill in the slabs. Ran out of walls, so I need to make a few more of them here. But from a distance, that's starting to look pretty good. And you can see I've slowly skinnied up the walls as we're going to bring ourselves into a much skinnier tower as we reach the top, which is now finished up. And with the sun setting, we've got the perfect time to do this, as we don't really have a whole lot of technology in this part of the world, so it's just gonna be lit by a simple campfire. And now that right there is looking really cool, and I love the orange stained glass kind of helping to round it out, almost giving another version of the red sandstone trim we have down here, just a much simpler version up there, just barely kind of showing in. A few more details added in, and there we go. Our lighthouse is now completed, sitting out in the ocean. And from even farther back here, oh my word, I love it. Oh, it's so cool. I really like how that turned out. But we can clean up all of the shulker boxes here. Unfortunately, these chests, I don't have space to store all of that, so we're gonna leave them here for a moment. But I've got something very important to do as we start prepping for the world download at 10,000 days. We've done a ton of work out here in New Papyrus, and I'm not planning to come right back into working on it next episode, so it likely won't be touched until after the world download goes out. So we need to be able to clean up a little bit of the mess here, and I'm already full on shulkers. Great. This is going perfect. I hate to do it, but I think we're just gonna double chest of shulkers over here and call it good. I did not think double chest of shulkers was going to be taken literally, but we almost filled it up off of all of the boxes sitting around. Next up, we need to go underneath this building, as there is something very important down here that really needs a home, but it doesn't have one quite yet. We have the maps of this area, and it is about time that we make a new map, because wow, quite a few things are gonna have changed after this one. For this, I'm gonna need a lot of blank maps, so I jump back home to the villager trading cave to purchase a few of those, as well as a few item frames, which are now up on the wall, and we are ready to go with mapping out the new region, as I have a ton of extra maps as well. Where first up, we need to start by grabbing all of these and duplicating them. One of my favorite things to do after I complete a build in a region is adding it to the map, so that we can preserve a little history of this world. This time comes with the fun addition of the first time I've mapped something with the new desert biome updates, so we can see all of those new colors added into the map. I just finished mapping everything and realized we have the smallest ever savanna biome right over there now. That is so cute. It's just a single tree and some dry grass. Everything is now locked and in place, and I think with the leaky ceiling in here, we definitely need to find a new home for these maps soon. But for now, it is very cool being able to see this, and all of the dry grass is very yellow on it. And this biome down here actually doesn't look that intensive because the bone blocks actually match the sandstone in color, so it doesn't pop out too much, which I kind of like on the map. But you can see where we started today to where we've ended today, and that is a huge change to the city and the desert as a whole, even with our new field on here. Oh, also for very perfect timing here, Continuity just released for 1.21.5. It's a mod that adds connected textures, and so now we can see what I was really trying to build this for, with all of the sandstone connected instead of having that harsh line along the top of it. Oh my gosh, Continuity is one of my favorite mods in Minecraft, to be honest. It's so good. You can see just how much smoother and more cohesive everything looks with just being able to merge all the textures together. There's a lot less noise in the build. And even in my texture pack, I've got the trapdoors being able to merge together there to create big long sheets, which is kind of fun. But that, my friends, is gonna do it for today's episode. We got one more episode. I'm gonna put a ton of time into the next one. Probably, I think, heading all the way up here to work on the landscape. We've got 150 days left until day 10,000, and you know what? I've got a lot of blocks to place down, so we might as well spend it doing that. But with that, my friends, click the like button if you did enjoy today's episode, subscribe if you're brand new, and I'll catch y'all on the flip side.